Hello, welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Kyle, and we're going to be talking about Dune Part 2, the long anticipated sequel to the continuation of the Dune saga. Just a brief recap. In the year 10,191, give or take. The most valuable resource in the galaxy is known as spice. It's a hallucinogen, though spice is also required for interstellar travel. But it can only be found on one source, the hostile desert planet called Arrakis. Now, the spice must flow, as they say, and whoever controls the mining of spice controls life throughout the universe, really, life as it is known. Now, when we last saw Paul Atreides, the main character here, played by Timothy Chalamet, he and his mother Jessica, the Lady Jessica, played by Rebecca Ferguson, their royal house had been wiped out by House Harkonnen, led by the vile Baron Harkonnen, Stellan Skarsgård, had stolen back control of Arrakis through a decisive nighttime assault. Seeking refuge in the inhospitable desert, Paul and Jessica made contact with the Fremen being natives of Arrakis, who have somehow managed to survive in the sand for generations. Now, biding their time, Paul learns the ways of the Fremen people from a warrior woman named Shani, played by Zendaya, and the deeply religious Stilgar, played by Javier Bardem. Now, joining their fight, Paul aids the Fremen in their war against the Harkonnen mining operations. They begin to see him as their Kwisatz Haderach. Now, I may have gotten that wrong, but they say it a few times in the movie, so forgive me. A prophecy which was seeded long ago by the Bene Gesserit, which is a superhuman sisterhood to which Jessica belongs. Now, with Lady Jessica stoking the flames of superstition amongst the Fremen, Baron Harkonnen enlists his psychotic nephew, Fayed, played here by Austin Butler, as a commander to wipe out the Fremen. Now, wishing to avenge his family, Paul must now decide between his love for Shani or becoming their chosen one. Should he take that step, he's going to gain a terrifying power, but there's going to be no turning back for anyone once he does. Now, to say that Frank Herbert's 1965 sci-fi novel Dune had a lasting impact would be an understatement as epic as the work itself. It went on to spawn sequels by Herbert, before it was replaced by his son Brian in the author's chair, and it is now a 23 book saga. I believe it was 6 books written by Frank Herbert, and the rest of them worked on by Brian Herbert. The expansive story of warring houses in space has been compared to The Lord of the Rings and, of course, more recently, Game of Thrones. Now, in 2021, visionary filmmaker Denis Villeneuve, I believe that's how you pronounce his name, that's how I'm going to be pronouncing it from now on, he gave us his most ambitious film yet with Dune Part 1. Now, intended as a trilogy, he now presents us the next chapter in his unique take on Herbert's incredible story. Now, Villeneuve and Dune really are a match made in heaven. Now, rarely am I truly in awe of visual effects in films, with entire movies regularly being shot against green screen. The novelty wears off. But anyone who has watched Villeneuve's Blade Runner 2049, not to mention, of course, this film's predecessor, Dune Part 1, can attest to his ability to create just jaw dropping spectacles with a mix of real sets, CGI, and miniature effects. The director lends his distinct visual style to bring this incredible vibrant universe to life. Mining trucks the size of skyscrapers, ships the size of cities. Not to mention something I'm sure fans of Dune have been looking forward to, seeing Paul prove himself by riding on the back of a giant sandworm. Uh, this is something that was a major highlight of many of the other adaptations of Dune series. So, and it is here as well. It's quite an exciting scene. Now, accompanied by a rousing score by Hans Zimmer, there are moments of just true brilliance. And at one point, it's a story of political conspiracy. At another, it's a hypnotic vision quest. Then later, it's a mesmerizing and explosive planetary holy war. Now, you can feel Frank Herbert's Dune as a tangible thing on a scale which before now could only ever be dreamed of. It really is just an insanely huge movie, and it, even it has been adapted a few other times. David Lynch had his version, which was controversial. There was Jodorowsky's attempt, which there's a documentary about that doomed production, which never actually happened. Then there was even a TV series version of it, which of course had, unfortunately, a much lower budget. This is probably the most ambitious version of the story yet that has actually made it to this big screen. But in many ways, this is more Villeneuve's Dune than it is Frank Herbert's Dune. The middle act of the story picks up immediately after the finale of Dune Part 1, and we follow Paul's journey really closely. The first film did an impressive job setting the scene for the war in Arrakis and giving us a basic understanding of the politics involved. This film, I felt, was much more action heavy than its predecessor, and to that end, it is a thrilling experience. But there have been some changes made from the source material that I feel leaves this film lacking in some aspects. The Fremen and their society, for all their importance to the story, don't really feel fully fleshed out, as there's simply not enough time to do so. Uh, Paul and Shani's entire relationship, and Paul's ascension to leadership, and even Fayed's introduction and other plot threads feel very rushed. I think I think a large part of this has to do with the odd decision that was made to not include a time skip, which is present in the original book and all other adaptations of it. I think that kind of compounds some of these issues where everything that you're seeing happens in the matter of a mere few months rather than being over the course of several years. There's a specific character that comes about because of those years. Well, Lady Jessica was pregnant in the previous film. She's still pregnant in this film, and she is still pregnant at the end of the film. So the entire movie has to take place within that period of 9 months. Whereas, not only is her child really important, and the child is still important to this movie, even not being born yet, but at least as far as that child being born is kind of a really big deal for the actual the source material. And just the fact that they don't have that time skip, I don't know whether it's because they just didn't want to they didn't want to tap into that whole aspect of the novel, kind of this Wunderkind child. Maybe they just felt they didn't have the time to do that, because that seems to be the reason that everything else feels scaled back as well. It just, even at a movie that's almost 3 hours long, it still feels like it needs to be longer. Not only do things feel like they are happening a little bit, not only do things feel like they're happening too fast in the film itself, we're blasting through too many things really quickly. It feels like they happen really quickly within the universe of the movie as well. So that is kind of a shortcoming of the film. But I mean, Dune has always been a story that is so grandiose that it's difficult to satisfactorily adapt it to the silver screen. Now, knowledge of the book would definitely help one understand the story more. I've seen a lot of people mention this, but it isn't strictly necessary, nor do I think it should be necessary for you to read the book in order to understand what the hell is going on. But at the same time that I have some issues with the movie, Dune Part Two is an exciting and visually stunning and a quite mature film. It may have a few issues with pacing, but this is really the kind of ambitious blockbuster that I want to see Hollywood make more of. And it's most definitely one which demands to be seen on the biggest screen possible. So really, all aspects involved, I'm going to give this one 4 out of 5. I did really enjoy the experience. I'm sure if anyone enjoyed Dune Part One, they're going to love this one as well. I'm sure. But I guess just it's something that fans of the book or some people that are somewhat familiar with the story, they might be wondering why some changes were made to the story. And yeah, that is, it's nothing really major. That's just a few, just really the brevity and the hastiness in which everything is covered. I think is a shortcoming of the film. But other than that, 4 out of 5 for me. And with that, I bid you adieu. You're listening to CentralCoastRadio.com, and we'll be back right after this.